One Mr. Happy here, and you're not gonna believe it. There's more Yoshi-P interview. There's actually another one I didn't even make a video on. They're still coming out. They're still coming out. What am I gonna have them until Tokyo Games? Whatever, it's fine. This one we have another interview. I believe this is actually not the first one we've covered from PC Games N, and this one comes with some interesting discussion about job design. Now, I've only glanced over it, so I don't know the entire context, but the title of the interview is After Dawn Trail 14 director Yoshida wants to show the strength of the hero. Now, when I saw that title, I was immediately more like thinking the way the 7.3 trial goes, where there's the individual cutscenes, and maybe that's going to get mentioned, but there's a couple of other comments that, of course, are going to have people talking. There's a lot of reading things out of context and a lot of conjecture and all that, so bear that in mind as we go through this. Number two, again, we are doing PC Games N's interview. There will be a link to that in the description, and it's written by Ken Alsop, again, I believe, who I'm positive we covered an interview from them. I'm almost certain it was even from Gamescom. It may have been from something else, but I know we did that. So, yeah, there it is. Ken Alsop. Final Fantasy 14 game director Naoki Yoshida says, we'll have plenty of chances to show off our strength in the MMO's upcoming stories, but warns that you might have to do some reading. Uh-oh. That's it. I think we're doomed. Our Warrior of Light was supposed to be on vacation in Dawn Trail, and while that didn't pan out quite as we hoped, we still took more of a backseat to give the characters around us a chance to step and grow. I think it's fair to say, I feel like a lot of people put a lot of weight in the vacation sentiment when even during fan festivals and live letters, it was made abundantly clear that wasn't going to be the case. And it was really more of a, look, we're going on this summer vacation, look at this. And that was just more the general vibe they wanted to give off, but it was obvious there had to be a conflict and a threat of some kind. Patches 7.2 and 3 make it increasingly clear that approach won't be possible moving forward. However, we sat down with Yoshi-P at Gamescom to discuss becoming the hero again, solving puzzles, and Dawn Trail's focus on family. It's our Fast and Furious arc. As well as investigating his plans to address difficulty in a new way, Jamie also asked Yoshida about some of the more story-led aspects of the recent 14 updates, whether they're similarly indicative of a shift in direction for the MMO. Without getting into specific spoilers, there's a climactic moment in 7.3 that puts you right in the center of the action. Definitely got me cheering, and I saw a similar response from many people I watched experience it in their own playthroughs. So is this approach something the team wants to keep doing? Okay, so they are going to be addressing the 7.3 thing. When it comes to expressing the unique role of a player as the hero, and in order to showcase really cool cutscenes and sequences where you can provide a real hero's experience and showcase the strength of the hero, we do want to put more focus on this moving forward. Yeah, the 7.3 moment, where there's a bunch of different animations depending on what jobs or roles that you're playing. Huge highlight, and I think most people have wanted stuff like it. There's the number one example is always, quick, we need a healer, and your character's just like, like there was one scene at some point where you actually have the option, wait, I'll cure him. And it just like, you can't, like, it doesn't mean anything, but like at the very least you have that option. But yeah, I think that might have been after they reworked the vault, if anything, maybe. Part of the joy of 7.3's most triumphant action sequence is that you get a custom animation based on your job. It's not the only time in the patch that matters either. The new dungeon separates players out during one boss fight and hands them different combat tasks based on their role. Healers must cleanse a Doom debuff, tanks have to interrupt a dangerous enemy move, and DPS players need to destroy a machine that's causing constant damage ticks. Within the MSQ, we can't always provide a unique expression for the jobs in every patch, Yoshida says, but when it comes to using the jobs in battle content, bringing out more of that uniqueness in each job, we are working on a big update. So we've heard about this before. Before Dawn Trail even launched, Yoshi-P had teased that he wanted to counteract class homogenization in an overhaul that was planned for 8.0. As for what it will look like, he explains that people might think of it as an expansion of the system we have in the game. So the players who already like the way things are can feel at ease that nothing is going to change for their experience. But we're trying to do something new on top of what we already have. So this says a lot without saying a lot. And it also doesn't say a lot while saying something at all. It's kind of weird. So I don't think anyone should have ever expected a drastic complete. There are some people who this has been happening for like 3 expansions now. You know how often I get people who, where they hear about job reworks, they think the game is going to become like action combat. Wild, right? And I think that's even fueled a little bit more now because of the Final Fantasy 16 event, where actually came with a dodge button. And I saw a lot of people like, oh yeah, they should just put that in the game. You know, just being completely invincible in that instance, you know, they were like, no, that should be everywhere. I want to be able to dodge absolutely everything. There's like a lot of people that keep thinking that. Fundamentally, Final Fantasy 14 is still going to feel like playing Final Fantasy 14 after this job change. And fundamentally, there's nothing to indicate we're even moving away from a 2-minute meta. Until I see a hard confirmation of that, I will believe that's staying. It's just hard for me to think otherwise. I've made suggestions on how to improve it and how to give more feel back to the player, but they want to improve the way that you actually feel. So I've always figured that they were going to focus on how you access your power, making sure that job gauges are a little bit more unique, that they're more engaging with your individual job skills. And then it's not something like, an example of one that I don't think works well is Lilies for White Mage. It's so terribly uninteresting. You know, you get an extra heal every 20 seconds, and every 3 big heals, you get a big damage button. It's like, I feel like everything they've done for White Mage since adding Lilies has been give them things that don't care at all about the fact that they have Lilies. Like, yeah, they'll rebalance like the rate of like how quickly it charges or something, but literally nothing interacts with it. And it's kind of the same with the tank gauges as a whole. Like, you know, oh, you use an action, you get this, or you auto attack and you get this amount of gauge. And it's like, okay, and then you spend 50 on like a defensive skill of some kind. And that's it. Like, those are all the same functionally, but giving them actual uniqueness in each of the job gauges gives each of the jobs a unique feeling. We have jobs that have gauges that have expanded or changed expansion after expansion after expansion, and they've always stood out more than when a job gets like 2 extra buttons and the skill levels up. So I'm hoping that they're just focused more on that, but they're saying that it's something that they're going to be doing something new on top of what we already have. Depends on how literal you take that, because on top of would imply it's just all what we have and then something else that is just, it's going to make a big change. I'm still very hesitant. I've been one of those people where I think people are way overblowing whatever they think the 8.0 changes are going to be, but we can only wait and see. It literally doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter. It just matters what is delivered, and that is what we will have to judge it on. I just know my expectations are not in the same place as other. I don't expect us to be playing an action game suddenly, like some people seem to think. Yoshi said he's unable to share more at this point in time, and I doubt we'll get much news until at least FanFest 2026. But he re-emphasizes, in terms of the individuality of each job, and also showcasing the player character to the fullest in terms of how they are the hero of the game, we want to continue placing importance on both of these aspects moving forward. If you're among those frustrated by our more backbench role in Dawn Trail MSQ, that is likely to come as welcome news. Yes, I definitely agree that I don't mind playing in the background, but there are certain things that I feel like take me out of it. A great example. So when we're watching the duel between Wuklamot and Bakuljaja, I actually don't like that we got to play as Wuklamot. I feel like, how am I supposed to feel like I am overseeing this fight? Like, I understand my character's there in the back, but how am I supposed to feel like that I'm taking more of that backseat role and actually being a mentor when I, as the player, am in control of the character and kind of directly in control of their growth? I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing, but I just don't feel like the way 14 is structured, it allows for us to be really in the back all that much, because then we're not actively doing enough things. And then on the flip side, when you do things like that, it kind of breaks that whole immersion to begin with. But that might just be a me problem. Another highlight of 7.3 is a sequence where the Warrior of Light and their companions investigate an old research lab. Loved this section. Again, I'll steer clear of narrative spoilers, but it's an extended section featuring some light puzzle elements that require studying the environment, talking to various NPCs, and putting together the pieces to solve. While it's not quite blueprints in terms of complexity, heard that game is really good, it's a refreshing change of pace that puts you in the thick of proceedings as the player, instead of feeling like you're just being dragged along while the characters are ready. Yeah, you know, I didn't really think about that when I was doing that section, but it does actually give you a little bit more player agency within the actual cutscenes. And we do have examples of things like that. And there have always been ones I really like, but that's why it gets frustrating when I see people that just really don't like these sequences. It's like, I can't tell someone else to like or not like something based on how I feel about it. But if you want more quests interaction and more game interaction, like, I hate seeing like negative things said about things like the puzzle section. Like, the only negative thing I like seeing is that it wasn't involved enough, that you could brute force it too easily, in a sense. So you didn't have to even just click on the like 2 or 3 things around you that explain the answer. You know how many people came in and asked me for the password to this section for the locker? It drove me insane. I'm like, bro, just look around. It takes like 2 seconds to find it. It's not necessarily the case that that kind of experience will always be incorporated into the MSQ, but if the idea is interesting and we think that it'd be fun for the main scenario, then there would be a possibility we would incorporate it. Speaking to the player response, he notes, of course, players who want to immerse themselves in the story and really experience it as much as they can found it really refreshing. On the other hand, there are some players who just want to rush through the main scenario as fast as they can. And for them, this kind of element was more of a burden for them, and it got in the way. But at the end of the day, the important thing is the experience of the players, and the story is a part of that. So we want to take a look at what good feedback we received and what bad feedback we received. You can look at making the best of all that feedback in order to create something new. I mentioned in another video that for light puzzle sections, Blue Protocol actually has kind of a skip to solution option. Like, it's basically the equivalent of this, where this would be the equivalent of skipping the cutscene. Like it's the equivalent of skipping the cutscene to a cutscene as skip to conclusion as it is with a puzzle. Do I really like the idea? No, but it is a solution. So if they really want to do that, and that's probably what's going to happen. They'll probably just make it so that you can choose to, like, skip the checkpoints in it so you don't actually have to solve the puzzle, or maybe if you don't solve the puzzle fast enough, it gets easier. I don't know. There are solutions, but I really hope they don't shy away from doing more involved quests like this, because one of the reasons why we skip around a lot of the quests, or at least for me, I read and I do pay attention to the story, but there are times where it's really hard to do because what I'm being asked to do isn't very engaging. So I'm basically just being asked to read a ton. And if I feel like the game is actively engaging me more, I'm more likely to want to, give it more of my attention. So that's how I feel, at the very least. Unfortunately, if you're a story skipper, that might cause some small progress blockers. They usually would skip all the text just to get to the end of the MSQ. But this time around, they actually need to read the text in order to clear that portion. He says it's difficult for us to tweak it in such a way that it's accommodating for the players who really want to immerse themselves and enjoy it, and also for those players who just want to rush through everything because they want to play the latest Extreme Trial as fast as possible. He knows exactly who he's talking to. With Dawn Trail now over, there's one more question. Who ended up as Yoshida's favorite character? Really put a lot of hard effort and work to make sure all the character stories would reach their completion in 7.3. And because of all that effort and attention, it's very difficult for me to choose just one. Despite that, he thinks for a while and then points to the expansion's youngest star, Galulja. Note that there will naturally be some light story spoilers here. When we look at Galulja, he's still a child. Out of all the characters that we've depicted in 14, I think he would be the youngest in terms of age. But even though he is a child, he has some strong foundation and strong standing. At the same time, he's also malleable, as it were. I think that goes without saying because he's a child. But when it came to depicting that trajectory of his emotions, I think that was one area that we did that really stands out. Another example is Lamachi and Kawana taking him as part of the family, showing that link and bond between them becoming family was another area that stood out. In a similar regard, I could also bring out the example of Kafkuya and Aaronville as their bond together. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I mean, I also just like Kafkuya as a character in general. With those family bonds now forged, it looks like we're getting ready to set off onto pastures new. Quite where that'll be remains to be seen. Frozen waters of Blind Frost in Arthod's North, Mericidia. Your guess is as good as mine, but make sure to pack your best combat gear for the trip. If you're after something different to fill the months while we wait, we're rounding up some of the best new MMOs in 2025. Hey, I enjoyed my Blue Protocol beta. There's one thing I'm very concerned about, but other than that, it's a little bit rough. Oh, and look at that. They even have you want to share theories and speculation with us? Dangerous door to open, if I may say so myself. But yeah, just a few light comments in here that felt like they were probably worth making a standalone video on. I've already had people coming in and making like bombastic claims about this particular section right here. These lines right here. Actually, no, sorry. On the other hand, another highlight. Here we go. Yeah, these two lines right here. People might think of it as an expansion. I've already had so many people coming in and just mass extrapolating these few statements in the few hours this interview is out, and saying that it means, like, I had like one person come in and be like, oh, so we're just going to have the same broken job system with a few new toys on top. Wow, what a letdown. What are these lazy devs even doing? And we saw other people who were excited about the idea of they're like, oh, they're going to do an expanded combat like action system on after that, where you're going to be able to tweak individual things like a talent. Like, people are just effectively taking the things that maybe they want or that it's been impressed upon them by other games and instantly apply. This is why he doesn't like saying things like this, because I'm guilty of it too. We all do it. We try to read between the lines, but this is a really basic statement that doesn't tell us a whole lot. And it was the main reason why everyone in my stream today was asking me, hey, have you seen that interview yet? Did you see what he said about jobs and about actions, about, homogenization? It's like, that was the line people wanted. So I figured I'd make a video on it. But anyway, let me know what you think is coming out of this. Again, my expectations are very low, and I think this actually more accurately reflects that. But he keeps saying it's going to be something big. It's going to be something new on top of the way the game already works. again, my expectations are not super high. I think it's no matter what, it's still just going to feel like playing Final Fantasy 14, and that's where I'm staying. Let me know what you think in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I mean, stay tuned. If there's more interviews, I'll do it. But dude, they got to be done right now, right? Like they've got to be done at this point with interviews until TGS, right? Maybe PAX West. Oh my God, we're never going to escape. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.